Are the cameras going?
Cameras are going.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
so
well,
we're good.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Car Talk.
Cheers.
Episode
Talks.
1.
Yeah.
Good evening, boys.
Hello.
Before we begin, let me do an intro.
Sure. Well, this is the intro.
Oh,
It's very casual.
I guess so.
Yeah.
He has some prepared remarks.
Yeah, prepared. It's coming up. Welcome, everyone. It's finally happening. I've converted my office into a podcast setup, something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. And finally, it's all set up, ready to go. It's going to be a new series called Car Talk. Thank you, Eric, for the idea. It will be a supplement to car stories. In the summer, we had car stories where we were telling the car stories, doing cinematic videos, heading out there and all that. It's winter here. Canadian winter, brutal. Can't really do much. So this is how we're going to spend our time doing Car Talk. So hope you all enjoy. This is going to be a pilot episode. If it works out, and if you provide enough feedback, we may be able to do this a weekly basis as well. So let's see how it goes. We've got a couple of topics prepared for this one. But first, let's introduce you to the participants or the guests of this episode as well. We've got Lukasz, aka Dubcest, and we've got Eric, aka Modern 911. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come out and do this.
It's good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
How about you? Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. I agree.
Thank you for bringing the drinks.
Sponsored by, who's it sponsored by? Again?
This is Sheepdog and Crown Royal. Okay, edit that out. They didn't pay.
So let's start by asking you guys how your winter has been going. Maybe we'll start with you.
You know, it's been a great winter. Nothing new in my garage, Prabul, other than a winter fat bike. I do a lot of mountain biking, and I'm on the hunt for a new company car right now. So I'm thinking. I'm thinking about cars.
Which is good. It keeps us young, right?
Mm-hmm. The mountain biking or thinking about cars.
I guess both.
Both.
I guess both. Yeah.
Well, the one might be breaking us down a bit more. Like you was just sharing a story of a broken rib. Richard, man. Ugh.
Rest in peace. No, he's alive. He's alive.
Yeah. How about you?
Collecting car parts, Prabhu.
I know.
You know me.
I know.
I prep for the spring, right? So when December hits, it's like buy now.
Yeah.
You receive the parts.
How many set of wheels do you have in the garage right now?
Like four sets of
You're
wheels.
modding your dad's car. You're
Yeah.
modding your brother's X5.
Yeah, I'm modding my car, brother's car, dad's car, wife's car. I'm running. I need a new car.
You've got an RS4 in your garage.
I got an
that's
RS4. I
modding.
have Tarsi's car in my garage.
That may be one of the episodes of Car Stories.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the
season 2.
first. Season
That's
2.
right.
Core topic we had today was going to be about carbon bucket seats. Brand new cars, when you spec carbon bucket seats, is it worth the money or is it just a waste of money, really? So maybe we could dive into that a little bit later on. But before we start that topic, I thought maybe we could dive into some of the notable topics or notable news items from what happened this week, right? This weekend, we've got the Canadian Auto Show in Toronto started
Right.
up. What's your take on this year's auto show? I mean, we've had a break, right? We didn't have a show last year or the year before. COVID kind of shut all that
Right.
down. This is the first time things are coming back up. Thoughts?
So I'll just say I was at the Montreal Auto Show, and we were at the Montreal Auto Show, and overall, great show in terms of hypercar, supercar presence from private collectors and from independent dealerships, but the lack of manufacturer displays was kind of disappointing. I was hoping I went there to see the new M2.
Yeah.
Something from Porsche. I was hoping a GT3 RS.
Hey, before the comments go crazy, it's Porsche.
Porsche.
Right.
Porsche.
You've been corrected on that many times.
My apologies. I'll say it like a European does. Porsche.
There you go.
Okay.
That's a German.
You
So
are
no
European.
Porsche GT3 RS.
Yeah.
And a lot of other cars. Mercedes wasn't there.
No.
I understand the whole EV presence and how it's trending. So a lot of manufacturers are jumping on the bandwagon and displaying their cars, but disappointing in terms of regular manufacturer presence. And the same goes for Toronto.
It seemed like it was half the size of what Montreal the auto show was.
So Montreal was 3 floors.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, when everything was still, normal. And when we went, it was one floor.
Yeah.
And that's including
Half too. It's not a full floor. Either.
yeah, it was half, because half of it was the stores, the boutiques, the car models, the gift stores,
Private collections.
Yeah,
Those are probably the highlight of that show as well. The private
Yeah,
collection.
I mean, they're not for sale, but nice to look at.
Yeah.
My take on it is I think the manufacturer is sending a signal saying we don't need to be here right now because, think about supply chain issues. They don't have inventory on lots. So why invest, in some cases, millions of dollars to come up with these exhibits for a product that they don't need help selling?
Yeah, it's true. Right. There's more demand for cars than there are supply even, right? What was it? Ford totally pulled out.
Right.
Completely, right?
I mean, but their cars are in demand. The trucks are in high demand. Their sports cars are in high demand. They know the brands. They're not introducing anything new. So then why?
Well, they are introducing new stuff.
Yeah.
It's just that I think they also don't want to get bombarded with questions of why can't I order this?
Yeah.
When is this coming? Why is it taking a year and a half?
That's so true.
Well, I mean, the reason they showed up to those things before, it's marketing, right?
Yeah.
It's creating hype and awareness and excitement around your brand so that people find their way into a dealership looking to buy cars.
Yeah.
That's not a problem they're trying to solve right now.
No,
Right.
Totally agree. I mean, if Porsche was there, I'll be going, dude, I've been waiting 3 years for a car. What's going on?
You have cars for exhibits, but you don't have a car for me to buy.
I know.
Yeah.
And those cars have like the loaded spec. And if we wanted that spec today, you couldn't get it. You couldn't get carbon ceramics. You couldn't get the matrix headlights. I'm like, what the hell?
We've kind of been down this road recently with you, right? So I think you're well aware of what's available, what isn't available, and what's limiting customers to ordering the car they want, right? Because it's not really a pleasant feeling when you're spending so much money on a car and they're telling you can't have this, can't have that, can't have that. Right?
Well, wasn't it Henry Ford's quote that said, you can have any Porsche you want, but you just can't have PCCBs with it? I think Henry Ford said that.
Wow.
I think so.
It went that far back, eh?
Yeah, he knew.
Are you sure you're not watching like the Chat GPT translated?
It was on wooden wheels, but it had PCCB.
Yeah.
I have a model of a GT3 that I want in the garage with PCCBs, with buckets, the spec I want.
And your brain is still wandering
just
somewhere
water
else.
it. It'll grow. It's fine.
If only it works like that, eh? But the Toronto one, it's typically bigger, right? I would say.
Yeah, it's
bigger than
Metro
Montreal.
Toronto Convention Center. I've been to it several times. It's huge.
Yeah.
I don't know. The last time I went to it was pre-COVID, and I wasn't excited. Just the
In Toronto?
right.
Well, how come?
Crowded. You can edit this part out. But
Hey, no.
you couldn't even get near the cars. It wasn't fun. Look, were you with me at that one? I can't remember.
I'm not sure if I was there. I might have been, but I was at the Toronto Car Show pre-COVID too.
Yeah.
And it was it's much busier than Montreal. I think Montreal, if we go early, like we went at 6:30 a.m.
And we got there
left
at
here,
9
right?
a.m.
Got there at just before 9, and it wasn't that busy when we were there. We were leaving; it started getting busy. But
The lineup was big trying to get in.
yeah,
But I mean, it moved really fast as soon as
Yeah.
the doors opened, right?
yeah,
But I see a lot of these posts on Instagram as well, right? Like there's a lot of private collectors bringing all their cars out to the auto show. It's almost like, well, hey, we don't have manufacturers, so might as well uncover these private collections and put them up on display. Mm-hmm. It feels like the Toronto side might have a bigger collection of these cars to kind of come out and flex as well. Some of the pictures we're seeing on Instagram, the Autostrada team's bringing some pretty heavy lifters as well, right?
yeah.
Nick, do you think the paradigm has shifted where maybe in the past they had to pay to put an exhibit there, and now do you think that they either it's free or they get compensated, right?
Yeah.
They get a bit of the gate.
I mean, what do private collectors get by bringing their cars out, right? Other
Like-
than doing like a charity event type thing, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Or high levels of anxiety as some kid's hands are all over it.
It's fenced off, which is cool, but you can't
Those
really
velvet
get in.
ropes aren't that secure.
Yeah.
And they're not.
But to a positive part of that is you get to see cars you've never been able to see before. I think this is the first show I saw an F50 in person, and usually F40 is a little more common to see. Common, but you don't see an F50 every day or every 10 years. So it was surreal to see every car from like every generation or every decade lined up from
Like every special Ferrari, you mean?
every special Ferrari,
like an Enzo
everything.
F40.
From F40, F50, Enzo, all the newer ones, Speciales, Stradales, like everything was there. So
that was really cool. I've never seen it.
So can I throw like what if you could have taken one of those home, like special Ferraris? Which one would you take?
wow, that's a really hard question.
Oof. If you could,
If you
had the money.
If I could, one
course.
one Ferrari from the whole collection,
One Ferrari. Yeah.
I'd say F50.
Yeah, 50. Okay.
Yeah,
And you?
I'll tell you why.
Oh,
I'll tell you why too. Because as a kid, growing up, I'd play Need for Speed, and the F50 was, the second best car after the McLaren F1, and it was always kind of like this dream car, and this fantasy game, right? So never seeing one in person, playing, the game with the car, it kind of put me in a moment where I'm like, oh, that'd be really cool to have, right?
I love the F50, but you remember when it came out? I don't think it got a lot of praise.
It did not.
Right? It got panned pretty heavily.
Yeah.
I would answer that question probably maybe the Enzo.
ooh.
And I wouldn't have answered that way 10 years ago. There's I've just grown to love the shape of it
Yeah.
a lot more. And I've seen some dumped with wheels and they just look incredible.
Yeah, like I love those classic cars modded,
Yeah.
but a purist would look at that and go, dude, you just killed the value of the car
Right.
by slamming it, putting those wheels on. An original spec car is worth millions even then, right?
So what would you choose then from the collection?
Really, any manual Ferrari I would take.
So that brings us back to the question now. Why aren't any of us choosing a modern day Ferrari?
There's no manuals.
There's SF90s.
They're not manual. I
There
think
was
that's-
Speciale 450, 488s.
But that's the complaint of all of these modern cars, is that these cars drive themselves.
Yeah,
The driver is not as engaged.
yeah.
But if you look at those classic cars, it's effort driving those cars. You drive it for a half hour, you come out, man, I'm beat up. You don't get that from today's Ferraris, right? You get in, you drive. Yeah, it's thrilling.
Well, do you feel that way with your GT3 RS?
To some extent. In the city, it's just not as engaging.
It beats you up.
No,
No?
I don't think it beats me up.
It's not that stiff, I guess,
No,
right?
like
Yeah.
the suspension, it's funny because Kim and I, we drove the car back from Toronto when we got it. And she was saying that the GT3 RS drove more comfortably than the GTS. I had Bilstein
Really?
PSS on.
Okay.
Again, the suspension, perhaps not the best thing for it. I mean, we lowered it so much beyond its limits that it didn't have any, the helper springs didn't have any,
Travel.
yeah. So, I mean, it was just loose. There was no...
My hope in F23 is that we can get through a car conversation without you lamenting the 997 GTS and the mistakes that were made. Am I asking too much?
No, but
I think that's a realistic goal.
No, but you raised the point.
I know,
I
I
had to
did.
give
I
an
know.
example of why.
Right.
So the GT3 RS does not beat me up, relatively to what the GTS was set up to be, right? But yeah, it's fun. It's engaging. Take it out on track. Oh, totally different beast.
Yeah.
But hey, that's what it is. But that's the Canadian Auto Show. I'm not going. It's going on for a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was in Toronto, if I lived in Toronto, I might have gone just to see what it's like and whatnot. But it's not worth the 4-hour drive.
I agree. The only context that I would ever go again is if I had like early access, no one around. You could actually, take pictures of the cars, be around them, and not, not getting mobbed by a ton
You
of
go
people.
early enough, maybe like VIP access.
Toronto,
How do you get to VIP access?
Talk to Eric Galley.
All right. Next topic of the week, at least the things that I was sort of watching out for. Formula One. A couple of cars got
I
announced.
am pumped.
Yeah, like even the TV show. It hasn't come out
That's
yet.
next week, right?
Yeah.
TV show. My wife is pumped for the TV show. She loves the drama, so.
I think she likes the drivers, Lucas. You better be careful.
She told me it's the drama, Eric.
What'd you think of the new cars?
My take on it, I thought, there were some that disappointed. I got up at 5:30 a.m. for reveals because I was excited about it. Maybe I'll talk about the good. So I think Mercedes had the boldest livery. Well, maybe we'll just keep this conversation to livery and not get overly technical with some of the aero changes. But I thought, the black, they did that in 2020, I think at Lewis Hamilton's request. So I thought that was one of the nicest new liveries on the field.
But it wasn't the Mercedes livery kind of.
No, it's always been the Silver Star.
It's
right?
always it remained a little bit untouched, really.
I think it was
No,
pre-Hamilton time, I think.
No, I think in 2020 they did black and then went away. And now, if you look at it, I don't know if you can see you can see some meter where they have a top and a bottom view, and this one's more all black. I think it looks pretty menacing. I thought Ferrari. I've got the Ferrari hat on, so obviously I'm a bit biased, but I thought their launch was the best. Like, you had the drivers on the circuit doing 5 laps, a lot of excitement. But the car, it looks fairly similar to SF23. Looks similar to SF22.
That actually looks kind of cool, eh?
It
Right.
does look really good.
Right.
So when you compare this to the Ferrari launch, they didn't actually start this car up.
Right.
We couldn't hear it. There's rumors about the fact that the team is not ready with the
They're
car.
still working on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that mean bad news for Mercedes?
You know what? I would have taken that the year they had the past year they had in F1, they would have spent that whole year preparing this car. The fact that it's not ready
Yeah.
in 2023 is kind of scary.
I don't think you can say it's not ready. I think I've seen post-launch some track videos of it, and every track's different, of course, but they were trying to solve the porpoising, and I would trust that they've used their time wisely in the off season to make sure that's not a thing.
I think the core design aspect, the shape of the car, that was the basis of the whole car, right? It's like the foundation.
That's right.
If they had to redo the foundation, it's another year lost.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had to push forward the way it is right now and make the best of it.
All right.
So, but then what is it? 24, 26 is when the new car.
26 is going
Is
to
that
be
completely new regulation?
The new, I guess Red Bull and Ford.
Audi,
collaboration.
and
Right.
who's Audi partner up with?
I don't know actually.
Audi's in there.
I thought it was AlphaTauri.
AlphaTauri.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's going to be really fun. Like I think Ford and Red Bull. It's good to see Ford back in racing again, but yeah, could be interesting to see. It was supposed to be Porsche.
I know.
It backed out.
Too many
I'm
demands for
glad.
Porsche.
though.
Red Bull
I won't
couldn't
be
get an allocation.
conflicted. If it was Red Bull, Porsche, I just can't. I can't get behind Verstappen.
Yeah.
And I'd be conflicted. I'd have to sell my 911.
You know what? I've been watching the last season of F1 on Netflix just to kind of get me in the zone and I forget where I left off in the season, right? So I'm watching it and you're right. He pushes so hard that he gets on people's nerves. He promotes almost collisions in some essence, right? But
he's aggressive.
he's aggressive.
He's a good driver,
but that's why he's where he is. He's pushing hard, and whether he gets caught with a fine or replacement in the race, he takes the risk.
Yeah.
And he does it, right? So
For me, it's his driving. He's a fantastic driver. You can't take that away from him. The character integrity is a big part for me, and it'll probably be on this Netflix season. But that incident with Checo and not giving up the position, there was no play. That's irredeemable for me.
I think that on the contrast, that's where Hamilton is more of a. He's got some core values that he still abides by, right? He's not gonna.
Well, he's a good driver to begin with, but He was cursed with a really bad car, I think, for last season.
Yeah, the first half.
But even when Bottas was leaving the team, he actually he was sad that he left as a teammate, right? Because he was a good teammate.
Yeah.
He knew how to play fair, and he knew when to let him pass, or he was a good supporting driver as well.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's a good point, because I think integrity, the tone is set at the top, and I think that's Toto Wolff. Like, I don't know if you know the backstory with Bottas, right? Like, he wouldn't release Bottas until he was sure that Bottas had a seat for the next season with another manufacturer.
That's right.
So that George Russell wouldn't have happened. And so I think that says a lot about how that team is run. Whereas Christian Horner does not operate the team that way. You would have seen Checo would have gotten the spot if the culture of that team was different. Can we, like, I thought one of the best liveries, it's one of the low field teams, but Williams. Williams. I think that car,
that looks really
that's the Golf spec, but even just the regular one, I think it's one of the best looking cars. I don't. It's just I always like their livery and design. I think I don't have any merchandise, but I just think it's always some of the best looking shirts.
do you know what my favorite part is? That Duracell battery on top.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just so fitting, right? It's incorporated so well into the livery.
Yeah.
But it is a good looking car.
Yeah, I like the blue and.
I like the Golf livery better. Yeah. If they I mean, this is not the final race livery, right?
No.
This was just a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. Shall we dive into the core topic that we had?
Yes.
Okay. So carbon bucket seats.
Mm-hmm.
Brand new cars, you spec them or do you not spec them? What type of cars really suit, or what cars do they really belong in? What's your take?
Well, the key manufacturers that are offering proper bucket seats are really Porsche, BMW.
Yeah.
I think that's about it.
I mean, you
Really,
got
right?
McLarens.
McLaren. Well,
Is there a non-bucket option in a McLaren?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Really?
The
Yes.
non-Senna seats. These are the Senna seats, eh?
Yes. But that's a very aggressive bucket.
Rare.
Even the non-bucket buckets are still
That's true.
good.
Yeah.
But that's in like that you're dealing with hypercar territory at that point, where it's almost like a foundation in the car, right?
Yeah.
And you have to have a good seat. In a Porsche and a GT3 Touring, for example, you can option the sofa seats, the sports seats, or you can option carbon buckets, right? In a BMW, you can option the comfort seats.
But with BMW, you have to get it as part of a large, like the carbon package, where it's like $13,000 and you get the seats plus other
Carbon bits inside.
Well, that's limited to Canada. So Canada makes you purchase these packages because, so what they do, they don't offer one-off options like Porsche does. They bundle them into packages to make it easier for the manufacturer, and I guess to make it easier to build the cars and distribute in Canada. But in the States, you can get a lot of independent options. In Canada, you have to bundle them together to get bucket seats, for example.
Yeah.
So in your case, when you were speccing an M2, you had carbon buckets was part of the carbon package, or what was it part of? Yeah. And you got a bunch of different features with that package, right?
I think there's 4.
There was carbon roof was part of that.
Right. Yes.
So I wanted sunroof with the carbon bucket seats.
Why? Why would you want a sunroof?
Are
you a smoker?
Working on the tan.
So for me, the M2 was supposed to be more of a daily driver. It was potentially going to replace the RS5. I like it when it's super like airy inside, right? Like if you had a panoramic roof, it just makes the car look. It just feels welcoming inside.
It feels lighter inside.
Airy.
And as soon as you have a hard roof that's closed off, it just feels like you're cocooned in.
But did you ever notice that the entry-level cars have a light gray headliner, and then all the performance models have a black headliner?
Yeah.
It's to make you feel more cocooned almost, right?
Yeah.
It does the opposite. So I know people who kill for carbon roofs in cars like that, and they actually cut out the metal roof and do sunroof deletes thousands of dollars worth of parts and labor.
I'm the anomaly, but BMW wouldn't do it, so so I'm stuck with a carbon roof, and it's probably good for.
God forbid.
So that's confirmed. Like you've got the allocation.
So the interesting thing is, so I got the message from Eric saying, "Hey, BMW is built like they." I forget the term he used, but basically there's 2 cars coming to autos that's spec'd by BMW with their options and so on, right? But it didn't have the carbon bucket seats in the manual one. So there's one manual, there's one automatic that's coming to autos.
But why are they getting spec cars and not orders?
Apparently that's part of the process.
Okay.
I mean, I'd have to find his email to kind of go over it, but those would be the 2 cars that's going to land first. I mean, I think Elite will probably get the same thing.
Yeah.
And then they'll start taking the orders, the custom spec orders or whatever, right? So he asked me if I wanted one of those, and I was like, no, it doesn't. None of them have bucket seats, and
we're getting to bucket seat territory.
I know.
Yeah.
So I think the buckets are a must in that car as well. I mean, from a resale perspective, I think it's good to have. And I don't like it when I'm floating around and sliding around in a regular seat when taking on track.
What's the counterpoint to this? Because I think
we're all on the same page.
Well, we have all different perspectives. So you're someone that has a car that came with buckets.
Mm-hmm.
You added Recaro.
So I put buckets in, and I can tell you it's probably the best decision that I've made.
Yeah.
Obviously from a support viewpoint, right? Like it keeps you in the seat, especially if you go to a mixed seat, like Alcantara and leather, you really feel the difference, even just Alcantara alone. But the hips, the bolsters, the sides, they keep you in place. You sit a bit lower, and it almost feels like you're driving a different car.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's probably the singular greatest thing you can do to change the interior of your car, right?
I agree.
And I'm someone that doesn't have them, that wishes my car did.
Would you mod it?
Yes, he would.
I'm in the headspace of like I want to get another add to another car, so to drop $15,000 in the aftermarket. And that's another good point.
Isn't it $10,000 through your
you can get there's a lot of other options. You can get Recaros for much cheaper than that. But if you're looking for
if you wanted a Porsche 997.2 like
retractable, reclinable, like that one there, for example. Yeah.
Right. In the secondary market, they're $15,000-$16,000. So I mean, the question he asked is, are they worth it? Well, yeah, because on the option sheet when you ticket, it's like $6,000. So even if you don't want them, you should ticket and take them out and put sofas in and make $10,000.
But the counterpoint to some of those is that it's hard to get in and out. There are folks that prefer that ease of getting in and getting out of the car over the future sale and the aesthetics of that car and things like that. But I think these are a must for track.
Yeah, but for that person, if you're the 70-year-old man that is buying a 911 and you do it and then just sell them for the rest of us that want them, and then I'll trade straight up. Hopefully this reaches a 70-year-old man that's looking to get out of his carbon buckets.
So I guess we're agreeing to the fact that carbon bucket seats, if you can option them in a sports car, it makes sense.
Yes.
Take them. Do them.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
And if you don't like them, you can always unload them and make a ton of money and put in comfortable seats.
Yeah. This is like the time that we went off and did the car video.
He's like, come out with Eric and we'll do some Eric Galley and we'll do some like B-roll and like some driving footage. We're like sick. So we're driving. It's like 6:45 in the morning. He's recording. He's like, man, this footage is awesome, guys. It's so good. We're like driving for like 45 minutes, like changing lanes. We get home. He's like, guys, I didn't press record. We're like, what?
There was such disappointment on their faces.
6 a.m. in the morning.
So all the driving for like 2 hours and all the comments, and I think the police pulled us over.
Yeah.
There was so much footage there. Like, I didn't press record.
The only footage I had was the screen recording with the overlays and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't really do anything with this.
Hey, but that's how we learn. That's why car stories worked out.
I know we didn't make those mistakes.
No.
On first episode. So, excuse the
Your
technical
headphones
difficulties. Yes, thank you.
And make sure you press record over there.
Pilot.
Yes, pilot. Record. So yeah, we had a bit of a technical difficulty here. Camera's overheated. Sorry. We're going to have to go over some of those points.
Fourth drink of the night.
Hey, it started off good.
Here's another thing about carbon buckets.
So I'm not sure where we left off. I think we all kind of concluded that if it's an option on the appropriate car,
Yeah.
just
You should
check the box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. And off all the brands, which brand do you think kind of makes the more appealing carbon bucket seat?
Appealing in terms of what, like in terms of ergonomics or
The coolness factor.
coolness factor is probably BMW, and purpose factor is probably the GT3, like the Porsche buckets, right? Like I said, they've been around in 3 different models.
Yeah.
So they're a proven bucket seat with proven ergonomics and I guess design and overall, right?
I agree with you, but for a different reason. So they're it's a value play, right? You get $6,700, and you get seats that are easily worth $15,000 on the secondary market. Versus the BMW, you have to select a $13,000 option,
Yeah.
and you get other stuff which you probably want anyways, but you can't just select the seats.
True.
Which is the downside. When I was specking the M2, I had to get a carbon roof when I didn't really want it.
No sunroof.
Yeah, I will. But I realized the sunroof was not panoramic.
It never
it's like,
is in the
It's like
St.
a little
Anne's, though. Yeah.
dicky hole. So
It's like mine.
it's not. It's the RS5 panoramic roof is worth it. It just makes the car feel so airy, and I don't know.
But you know what's funny? Just before we conclude on the panoramic roofs, I've had 3 trucks and 1 SUV, 2 SUVs with panoramic roofs, and I have had them closed the entire time.
Oh, serious?
I prefer the enclosed feel. Like you prefer
yeah.
the more airy feel. I prefer the darker kind
Yeah.
of.
Ours is open
Yeah.
all the time. Like you have the blinds that closes in to cut off the light.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, have you seen my skin color? I need vitamin D, especially in the winter,
Work on the
man.
tan.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, from your perspective, the Porsche is one of the brands.
Yeah, foldable,
Yeah.
of course, for my car. But
I do like the M2 seats or the M3 buckets that they're coming up with, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really appealing.
They're a very nice modern design in terms of a bucket seat, but the biggest pro is that they're reclinable. So you have a bucket carbon seat with all the support, and it reclines and slides forward,
Yeah.
right? So
and the back seats for me as like a daily use.
yes,
With the kid and everything.
When would you recline your bucket seat, Lucas? Crystal gonna watch us at drive-through makeout.
if I wore a puffy jacket, Eric,
How about at the drive-in?
at the drive-in, I suppose that'd be an adequate location.
I guess there are benefits to foldable buckets in terms of versatility. The foldable Porsche buckets and the foldable BMW buckets are the way to go. I mean, when I was searching for carbon bucket seats, the first 2 brands that came to mind was Porsche, BMW. Audi doesn't have much in their OEM for brand new. If you were speccing a car today, you don't have like a really
Aggressive bucket.
bucket seat option today, right?
But that's Audi, right? They're all about interior ergonomics, and part of that is comfort.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. I don't know. For me, I guess I'm biased, but I really like how the Porsche carbon buckets kind of feel. They sit well. It's not uncomfortable getting in and out. Once you're in, maybe it's a challenge, but once you get used to that sort of whole process, it's pretty decent, I think.
Yeah.
Would you ever do custom inserts? I know ears are green to match the lizard green, but
This is the thing. I think if mine was not an RS, if it was like a touring or a GT3, I would do custom inserts. Right now with the green inserts the way they are, it just matches the car as a whole. I just think that 991.2, when they came up with the launch spec, it was just bang on. There isn't much more you could do to the interior and how it felt. It was so different. It looked so different from your regular GT3, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. If I had a GT3 Touring or a GT3 manual, then I would do all those inserts.
Damn it.
Here, let's drink some more to that.
It's good soup. What? Why don't we look at the CSL seats?
Yeah, pull them up, bro. Oh,
there you
Eric,
go.
what do you think of those seats? Do they remind you anything?
You know, it's like Darth Vader's trying to spoon me from behind.
I agree. It does look like Darth Vader. Yeah.
You know,
He's trying to hug me. You know, that's what those seats make me think of.
see, Eric's mind goes to dark places.
Yeah. Wah, wah, wah.
Eric, dark.
I am your father.
And stop hugging me from behind.
Anyways, I think that concludes our conversation on the carbon bucket seats. From your perspective, other than Darth Vader hugging you from behind, it's a must. It feels like I know why Eric wants the carbon bucket seats.
I think we all know why Eric wants the carbon bucket seats.
Just want to be loved.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Good strategy, I would say. Yeah, check it off if you're getting it in the OEM. If you have the option to get it, $6,000, sell it in the aftermarket, make some money off of it. One could argue replacement seat to replace your bucket seats with like a regular seat could cost just as much too, right? It might offset those profits.
I will trade anybody straight up for my sport seats.
Oh, there you go. Hey, if you have carbon bucket
there you
seats
go.
for a Porsche with the folding option,
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're 75 and older, contact Eric Thor.
I'm your man.
we're not doing a good job on the sales pitch right now. Calling. Well, I just wanted to say thank you for kind of doing this podcast style video with me. I mean, it's a pilot. We had a little hiccups here and
This is
there.
a good little test run.
Yeah, but I mean, we have some good conversations as well. So, I mean, you guys let us know as well what you thought. Leave comments below on topics that you think might be interesting for the three of us to kind of talk about. And we want to do this as a weekly thing. I mean, I do it for just the drinks.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to turn me into an
Well, I
alcoholic.
came here just for the drinks, to be honest. I didn't know we were doing a podcast at all.
You've been recording this?
Hey, wake up, man.
These cameras are for. Okay.
Anyways, thanks for having us, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Well, I
Good
appreciate it.
chat.
I hope you all enjoyed it as well. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out their Instagram pages as well. I mean, Lucas, you probably have the biggest following, so please share so he'll see all of this as well. Goofing around. So stay tuned for more car talk. Thank you for the name. We're going to make this a thing weekly. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Cheers.
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 Okay.
All right, that's a wrap.